Beef tenderloin is the perfect cut for a dinner party. It's quick to cook, mild in flavor, and as advertised by the name, it is tender. But dinner guests do not live by beef alone. Potatoes, whether you make them mashed or roasted, they are a natural match. But that means some last-minute cooking.
Until today. I have to tell you, this recipe is one of my all-time favorites because it's a one-pot meal. The potatoes and the beef tenderloin cook in the same pot. And you know, everybody loves tenderloin. From grandparents to kids, everyone's pleased with this meal.
Yeah, you get some medium rare cuts right in the middle, and the ends are a little bit more towards medium, so it kind of satisfies everyone.
You got it. All right, this is a 3-pound center-cut beef tenderloin. Now we're just gonna season it with a little salt and pepper, and here I have 2 1/4 teaspoons of salt. This is a teaspoon of black pepper, and our super secret magic ingredient, baking soda. This is a teaspoon of baking soda, and of course that raises the pH, which encourages browning. So I'm just gonna whisk this together, pat this roast dry, and then I'm gonna season it. Here we go, nice and liberally. I wanna make sure you get it on all sides, and it's okay if you get it on the board. You know what I do? I kind of use the roast as a little bench scraper and just make sure it gets seasoned even on the ends. So that's coated nice and even, and now we're just gonna tie it. It is a pretty uniform cut of meat, but tying helps to ensure that it cooks through a little more evenly. And I'm gonna start in the center and just make double knot the first time, go around the string twice. That helps it stay in place for that second knot.
It's great for holiday wrapping as well.
All right, now I'm just gonna work my way outwards.
Did you ever work at a rodeo?
I do know how to wrangle a good piece of beef. So that's about 1.5 inches between the ties. I'm gonna trim off the long ends, give them a little haircut. Now we're gonna let this roast sit for about an hour. That'll allow the salt to do its magic and make the meat more tender.
Just right at room temperature.
Just right at room temperature.
Now, it might sound counterintuitive, but salting meat retains its overall moisture. It just needs time. At first, salting the surface of the cut naturally draws moisture outward. If you roast the tenderloin too soon after salting, that drawn-out moisture will evaporate. And sure enough, the meat will be dry and disappointing. But if you give the salted meat enough time, the super concentrated moisture near the surface will seek equilibrium, move back into the meat, and bring the salt with it. The salt causes the muscle proteins to swell, ensuring a juicy tenderloin. So make sure you give the salt enough time to work its magic.
All right, so it's time to get cooking, and we're gonna start with the potatoes.
Nice, I thought we were gonna play ball.
No, we're gonna use little red potatoes because they're lovely and creamy and they hold their shape during roasting. And also, when they're in the bottom of the pan, they act like a rack for the roast. So I have 2 tablespoons of olive oil heating up in this roasting pan over these 2 burners, about medium-high heat. And you can see that oil is just starting to shimmer. So here I'm gonna add 5 scallions, 4 cloves of garlic, a tablespoon of smoked paprika. Just adds a little something special to the potatoes because that's an expensive piece of meat.
And you're blooming it in oil, which is really going to enhance its flavor.
A little bit of salt, that's a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And now we're gonna add our potatoes. This is 3 pounds of red potatoes. Of course, we gave them a good scrub beforehand. We're just gonna cook this for about a minute, really to help bloom those aromatics. Can't you smell that paprika? Oh, and you're starting to smell the garlic.
This is gonna go great with beef.
All right, so you can see we're starting to get some fond on the bottom of the pan. So I'm gonna turn off the heat and add 1/2 cup of water. This does 2 things. Helps scrape up the fond so we get all that flavor on the potatoes. It's also gonna create a little steam when we roast these potatoes to help them start cooking. All right, so we're gonna put these in the oven. This is a 425-degree oven. We're gonna give these potatoes a 15-minute head start. Ooh, you can smell that little bit of smoked paprika.
Oh, it smells so good.
If you wouldn't mind turning that oven down to 300 degrees, please.
All right.
Those potatoes have had a 15-minute head start.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's time to add our beef tenderloin. So I'm just gonna give it a quick brush with a tablespoon of olive oil. Don't forget the ends. All right, so now, as I said before, we're gonna use the potatoes as a rack. So I'm just gonna push them into the middle. And I'm gonna take this pretty guy, put him right on top.
Genius.
I know, right? So this is gonna go back into a 300-degree oven for about 45 to 55 minutes. The key is that the center of the roast is gonna register between 120 and 125 degrees. That's for medium rare. And of course, halfway through cooking, I'm gonna spin the roast around so that it cooks evenly. All right, so that beef is still in the oven, but now it's time to make one of my all-time favorite sauces, and I've been pronouncing it wrong for many years. I've been calling it persillade sauce, but actually it's persillade sauce.
Much more fancy that way.
Or persillade.
Persillade.
Yes, but regardless of what you call it, it is delicious. I put it on eggs, I put it on tempeh, and of course, beef.
All
so
right.
it starts with parsley, and this is 3/4 of a cup of chopped parsley, and that's our base. And to this, we're gonna add a scallion, and we're gonna wanna mince it. And what you wanna do when you mince a scallion is this root end is pretty thick. So I like to quarter it, and then if there's any big green parts, I just cut them in half. And then you can just mince it really nicely. All right, 1 minced scallion. Next up, cornichons, which is French for fancy little pickle.
Tiny gherkins.
Yes, and they're delicious. We just want to mince these up. That's about 6 tablespoons of cornichons. These look pretty good. And we're gonna also add a little bit of that cornichon juice because that's good flavor. Very pickly, a little salty.
So good.
So this is a teaspoon of the cornichon juice. Next up, some capers. And of course, we rinsed these already to get rid of some of that extra brine. This is 1/4 cup. I'm just gonna give these a quick chop. They're already pretty small, but we really wanna crush them open so you can really taste them.
So you're not quartering each one.
Not today. That's pretty good. Into the bowl they go. To this, we're gonna add a little garlic. This is 3 cloves of minced garlic. A little bit of sugar to sort of balance all that brininess of the cornichons and the capers. This is a teaspoon of sugar. Last but not least, a little salt. This is a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper.
Yeah, I'm all for sugar when it's used as a seasoning, similar to salt and pepper. Just balances out flavors that way.
All right, I'm just gonna mix this up. And then what's gonna hold it together and really turn it into a relish is some olive oil. So I have 1/2 cup of really good extra virgin olive oil here. Pour this in. Tell you the truth, whenever I make this, sometimes I just eat it right off a spoon. It's so good. All those fresh sort of briny flavors. And that is it. A persillade, or as I like to say, a persillade sauce.
Oh, it smells so good.
All right, so again, we're looking for a temperature between 120 and 125 for medium rare right there in the center.
I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what it actually reads, I'm gonna eat it.
Nailed it. We're right on. So we're gonna let this rest for about 15 minutes, let those juices redistribute. Of course, we're gonna tent it with foil, help trap the heat in. And now back to these potatoes. Now sometimes if you see the pan getting a little dry in the oven, don't hesitate to add a little water. I'm gonna tent them as well so they stay nice and warm. All right, so this beef has been resting for 15 minutes. So I'm just gonna get rid of these pieces of twine. And a pair of scissors is ideal for this because it really can get under the twine, which kind of bakes into the meat during roasting.
The browning of this beef is pretty tremendous. We did not sear this in the pan. It's all nice and brown. That's from the baking soda.
That's right. It's time to slice this roast up. And now I'm not gonna slice it very thin, but also not into thick steaks. Somewhere in the middle, about 1/2-inch slices. Oh, look at this meat, so juicy, perfectly rosy throughout, almost no gray band.
No.
And again, that's because we didn't brown it. So we saved a step and made perfectly rosy meat. All right, so a nice piece for you. And now we've kept these potatoes warm under the foil over here. Oh yeah. Last but not least, my favorite sauce, persillade, fit for a king.
This is beautiful. I mean, it's a special occasion meal, but actually I would eat this just about any night of the week. You don't need a fork. Certainly don't need a knife. Just a spoon. It's that tender.
And the potatoes with that little bit of smoked paprika just gives them a little something special.
Well, our one-pan wonder starts by seasoning and tying a center-cut beef tenderloin. Cook new potatoes and scallions with smoked paprika right in the roasting pan. Add water and give the potatoes a head start in the oven. Top with the roast, return to the oven, and slice and serve with a quick persillade. So from our test kitchen to your kitchen, an easy and elegant one-pan beef tenderloin with smoky potatoes and persillade relish.
Thanks for watching America's Test Kitchen. What'd you think?
Well, leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or you can just say hello.
You can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
I'll see you later.